Good evening, captive audience. It's Don Anderson here, and soon to be with us, Leslie Schneider, for another episode of Captive Audience. Happy New Year once again. I think it's still early enough in the season that we can say that. And as always, glad to be here with you all. So, as always in the past, please feel free to share your chats on the chat line. Love to hear what you're thinking. And also, it's good for us to know that you're hearing what we're saying because sometimes there are malfunctions with the technology here and I am not a technology guy. Also, I'm going to ask for your patience with me as I'm in the process of recovering from a cold, and I'll have to periodically stop and take a sip of this hot tea mixture here. So bear with me as I try to get this throat of mine back in play. So that said, let's hop in. We're loaded for bear. There's tons of stuff going on. And so I'll start at the top with I thought one of the things that came up last week, but we didn't have an opportunity to really discuss, and that is the fact that meat is back on the menu. So if you'll take a look at the what I've shared there, RFK Jr. overhauls the food pyramid to emphasize red meat and dairy. So once again, it's fine to eat red meat and dairy. It was always fine. But of course, those who run the giant food industry didn't want you to know that because they don't make a whole lot of meeting. They don't make a whole lot of money when you eat things that are good for you. They make a whole lot of money when you eat processed stuff. So, to quote the orcs from Lord of the Rings, meat is back on the menu, boys. So, here's my rule of thumb: if it swims in the sea, flies in the air, grows out of the ground, walks on the earth, it's okay to eat it. If it's manufactured or comes out of a box, you're probably getting some big food poison that's going to get you hooked to the stuff that they sell, cost you a lot of money, and eventually either shorten your life or make your life a lot more miserable in your last few days as you spend the last 20 years of your life fighting a combination of obesity, diabetes, hypertension, and the usual things that go along with that. So it's awfully good to see what RFK Jr. has got in play and getting these folks to actually be honest about what's on the menu. So it looks like Leslie has just arrived. Let me see if I can't figure out how to dial her in. Let's see. Don't go away, Leslie. There you go. Yes, you're here.
Hi,
Welcome.
Don.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm running as usual. So anyway, thanks
All
for
right.
always
That's right.
patient with me.
Hey, if you want something done, give it to a busy person. That's that is the old adage, and it runs true. Well, I'm so glad to see your smiling face.
Thank
As I
you.
told the audience a moment ago, I'm recovering from a nasty cold, and so I could really use you to prop me up today because I'm sure I'm out of gas. I got my honey mixture, a little whiskey in there. It's
Good for you.
so it's all good.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I just started off talking about the fact that RFK has overhauled the food pyramid. That was one from last week. We had so many things to talk about we didn't get to. But
Yep.
you have any thoughts on that you'd like to share?
No, I love it. I mean, I think everybody has known for a long time that the food pyramid is wrong. And we're only getting fatter, right? And so
Right.
people recognize that if you want your brain to work, if you want your muscles to be built, you need more protein. And so I love that they're putting proteins at the top, and obviously carb, sugars, towards the bottom. I also love that he's just paying more attention to what's real food and what's not real food.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably a ho hum because people kind of already know,
Hmm.
or at least people who are dialed in know. People who are on maybe public assistance maybe don't know because they're just trying to make their life work. But this is going to be very, very interesting to see how this affects the food programs in
Well,
the schools.
what a great segue because I just copied it into the box there in the chat line about what the ramifications of this are. One of the first
Yeah.
ramifications: 18 states are set to ban SNAP recipients from using food benefits for junk food in 2026, which was always one of the. It's so shocking to realize that you can use SNAP benefits and go buy Coke, Pepsi,
Yeah.
God, potato chips, just basic junk food. So the very people who are at most risk from eating a bad diet, from being overweight, are the ones that we're making it easy for them to get. The very
Yeah.
people who don't have the education, for example, to really understand
Yeah.
how this works are the ones being victimized by it.
Well, and people talk about how how, if you go into Sprouts, or you go to Whole Foods, or, you go to some of these, cleaner markets, everything is a lot more expensive. But I think it's going to start changing, because as the government now recognizes that we need cleaner, fewer ingredient food, items, those kinds of, and they start eliminating subsidies for junk, then people will be more incentivized to reach for fresh fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
And and so these and who knows? I mean, maybe they'll start targeting foods that have certain chemicals in them, and maybe organic and GMO free will start to be on the list. I mean, I have compassion for people who just don't know better, or it's cheaper for them to go to Walmart and buy a box of frozen chicken fingers for their family than it is for them to buy organic GMO free chicken breasts, cut it up, roll it in batter, right, and then make your own,
Well,
and
yeah.
bake it, right? I mean, so and then of course you have, not only are they making bad food decisions and so they're gaining weight, but their brains aren't working properly, their bodies aren't growing properly, and so then now they're kind of behind in, their kids can't pay attention in school, or they're not able to perform their job function,
Mhm.
so I think I mean, again, we all kind of know this. Well, those of us who are paying attention to health and wellness, we know how our body responds better to clean ingredient eating. But now we're going to be, I think there's going to be some financial incentives and also some penalties
Mhm.
for organizations that don't embrace that. I mean, I when I was on the school board, we had all these, and they still do. They have all these requirements in order to get, they have USDA requirements in order to get properly funded for your food lunch program, and it's crap. Even if you're trying to do farm to table, or trying to do scratch menu
Mhm.
development, you still kind of have to include all this crap in it. So I like where we're going.
Yeah, and I think, you have to think in terms of incrementalism is like how I think of it. So, for example, the chicken at the regular Safeway, for example, is not as good as a chicken from, like, say, Whole Foods, but it's a whole lot better than the chicken that you would get at at the fast food joint, for
Right,
example,
Popeyes.
right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
so you're moving the needle because you can still buy, you can get broccoli, you can get fruit, you can get vegetables at the regular store that doesn't have the crazy prices of a Whole Foods.
yeah,
It may not be as good as a Whole Foods, but it's a whole lot better than the potato chips and ice cream that you were eating a while back, right?
yeah,
So I think it's incrementally better, and that's how we have to think of everything we do here. In fact, is as incrementalism, right?
yeah,
So what's that old adage? Perfection is the enemy of the good. So we're moving the needle, and so I'm pretty excited about it. I mean, it's just damn near criminal to be giving these people these foods that are literally killing them. We got diabetes rates through the roof. We talked about this in previous shows. I know I'm beating a dead horse, but I didn't know any fat kids. I didn't one fat kid in our neighborhood, right? Like
yeah.
one,
That's right. That's right. There was the fat kid in your class or
right?
in your
Yeah,
school. Right now,
yeah.
it's like
The
everybody.
skinny kid. It's the
Yeah,
skinny kid.
yeah, yeah. The fit kid. Yeah,
How bad have we gotten, right? But that's exactly what's happened. You go to the military, and I know at one time, I'm not sure if they do this anymore, they used to
sorry.
actually that's all right. The
Ah,
boot they added on boot camp, they added on a couple of weeks, like, pre-boot camp, because the people that were short was such bad shape,
yeah,
didn't do boot camp from the beginning.
that's right. They
Now when
still
you're
have that. They
yeah,
still have that. Yeah.
when you're a 19 or 20-year-old boy and you can't do 10 push-ups, can't do a pull-up, man, I can't even. How sedentary can you be? But a lot of that is if you're if you're a tub of lard, 10 push-ups is killer. So
Yeah, or you have spindly arms because all you've been doing is, video gaming,
mhm. Right,
right? I
right.
mean, just and you're riding your e-bike. You're not actually pedaling.
The
Yeah, I mean,
e-bike, right.
and maybe we, again, these are kids. So how
Mhm.
much can we hold them accountable to that? This
Right,
is what their
sure.
society is.
Yeah,
Their PE requirements are
mhm,
so low. I mean,
yeah. Oh, yeah. It is crazy. I mean, you think about when we had the JFK thing roll out in the '60s, and you had to do all these exercises, you had the pegs and the rope climbs and all that other stuff. Then it became so freaked out over safety that you can't have pegs and rope climbs because, oh my goodness, kid might fall down and hurt himself. it's just it's just mind blowing. But that must
Yeah.
be a great shift. I think you'd be thrilled to hear this. I just heard this morning, I think, the White House is to end funding on sanctuary cities and states on February 1st.
I did see that. Woohoo! We're gonna
Oh,
see a whole roof blow off California. I cannot wait.
hey, I'm going to let you roll for a minute on that while I sip on this. Go
Yeah,
for it.
yeah. So no, that's wonderful. I also wrote down that they are all federal funding is frozen. Oh, if you're on public assistance, you are now no longer able to wire money back home to whatever country you came from.
Man, I'm so tired of winning.
Does that make sense?
That's what
We're
Sonny
giving
used
you
to say.
money to live here, right? Like 20 here. So that I think is going to be awesome. They're going to do proof of attendance at childcare facilities. So love to see that.
You mean if I go to the Leering Center, man, I can't get some Leering?
The leering. I know. And I loved was it TikTok, Libs of TikTok response to that?
Mhm.
That it was something, it was like, I'm gonna say it wrong, but they just said something like, there was a politician. No, it was the guy, it was like okay, fill in the blanks for me, Don. There was a ambassador to the United States
Mhm.
who was not from Somalia. He was from a different country, but he was like a named contact or registered owner or something
Well,
on
one of
some
these
of these,
centers. Yes.
huh?
I
On
did
some of
get
these centers.
right.
Yeah.
One, you
And
can't make it up.
yeah, and they reached out to the guy and he wrote and his government wrote back with broken English. And so Libs of TikTok wrote back, some sort of, obviously some snarky comment about like, where did you learn to speak English? The Leering Center, or something like that. It was like you're like a representative of a foreign government and you're coming down on us and you have broken English. So anyway, yeah, for your dude being illegally associated with the daycare center, right? Like where kids should be
Unbelievable.
learning to read and write. Okay. Um, I also saw that Trump is putting a 25% tariff on foreign-made automobiles.
Mhm.
So that's going to make the United Auto Workers very proud, very
Yes.
happy, and
Well,
hopefully it'll make our prices drop.
and all jobs coming back here. That's the other
Yeah,
side of it too.
yeah,
So our young
yeah,
people have an opportunity to have an affordable income, just like the generation before them. It is like so cool to see that happen.
yeah. Well, I mean, during COVID, we all saw the price of vehicles shoot through the roof. All of a
Mhm.
sudden, my used car had the same value as a brand new car. Remember, because they couldn't get any brand new cars
Mhm.
in
Right.
through the ports. So now all of the used cars had these new car prices. I don't think they've come back down again. And
No.
so the idea of like, your kid turning 16 and you throw them like a $3,000 hatchback Yugo, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I tell you,
Like you can't do that anymore.
don't think any of this is an accident. The reason for this is to keep you from being able to move around the country and drive and go where you want to go. Because if I can make you get stuck in one spot, because when you move around, ideas move around with you. And the one thing the left hates is you having ideas, you having independent thinking. That's one of the reasons why every communist bloc country, and I remember when I was a kid and first learned about this, I just couldn't imagine. I put myself in the shoes if I was a Soviet citizen and if I was living in Portland, well, I couldn't go to Vancouver or I couldn't go to California without getting permission from the government. In fact, it was worse than that. It was like you couldn't leave your city without
Yeah.
getting permission from some government official.
Yeah.
That's what these people are ultimately looking to put in place. But they can't go through the front door. They have to go to the back door and making it too expensive for you to move around. That's one of the reasons why they love ultra high gas prices and they love making cars super expensive. So they can force you into public transportation, which they can control.
Well, and I think another agenda is just to demoralize us.
Mhm.
When they make things when they restrict us, they restrict our choices by restricting our income or restricting our ability to pay for things and by jacking the prices, then it's demoralizing.
Mhm.
And so I think that's part of controlling
Yeah,
people as well,
and
taking
the
control of
cause
their mind.
yeah, you cause civilizational collapse. One of the most common themes in these countries that eventually collapse and wind up going communist is they wreck the economy, and oftentimes they've done it on purpose. When you're,
Yeah,
especially for young people, when you're
yeah,
young and you're energetic, you have to have buy-in into what I call the social contract. So it's a social contract in every country. The social contract in our country is I'll at least be able to have the same life my parents had, right?
hmm,
I should be able to like afford a home. I should be able to get a decent job by the time I'm 25. And by the time I'm 30, I should be able to afford, at least getting that entry level home. Um, I could live in a place that's safe, right? These are like the basics. And
hmm,
when the government doesn't do that, and when you put a system in place where only people over 60 have the resources, only they can afford to buy houses because they were fortunate to be buy it back in the day when the left hadn't destroyed it, and they can afford cars, and then you're out there working to support them while they're in retirement. On top of that, that's called a recipe for revolution, and
hmm.
that's precisely what the left is trying to create. Make no mistake about it. So this stuff is how you keep a civilization going. And when you see things like home prices, and I got an article I'll talk about in a minute here about that, and ability to buy a car, these are like basics. Remember when you were a teenager? Every teenager dreamed of their first car.
Yeah,
That was like freedom, right?
yeah,
And to put them in a position where you can't even buy a used car,
right.
these people are
Well, I mean, I got my mom's cast off, right? I mean, that's how a
right.
lot of a lot of us got a car.
Oh.
It was like mom or dad's cast off. So I had the Volvo station wagon with the metal grate because we had our hunting dogs. We'd keep those in the back.
A station wagon for first car. You were really dipping.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. And because I'm 16 and I grew up
Mhm.
in San Diego, I had
Oh, you're
no
not.
idea I had no idea what rear demist was because it's not ever cold enough where you need to demist in San Diego. So that was like our jet propulsion button when we were like, who's ready for rear demist? And let's go.
Well, my first car, my dad got it for my 18th birthday. It was 69 Pontiac Grand Prix. And
Oh
that baby went
my.
at 140 miles per hour on the speedometer. And I know it will do that because I did it.
Jeez Louise, Dawn.
As a crazy teenager,
Yeah,
right?
well, you were way more hip than me, I can tell.
Hey,
Still
nine,
are, I'm just gonna say, but,
hey, 9 miles a gallon, though.
Oh, jeez.
Of course, gas was 79 cents a gallon, but hey.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Speaking of that, now you're in California, so you're going to weep when I say this. As much as Washington State taxes the hell out of gas, I drove by a pump today and it was almost under $3. It was $3.10. I couldn't believe it. I think the national average is like 260 or something, right? But that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I think I paid, like, 5.29 2 days ago. I just
California, man. I mean,
I mean, what are you gonna do? Like, I
unbreaking
gotta go to work, right? You can't get away from it.
$5 a gallon.
It's rough. It's really rough. I mean, I look at my checking account and I'm like, I'm not I'm not doing reckless things. I'm going to the grocery store, I'm paying for gas, I'm just doing regular stuff, like maybe a
You
night out with a girlfriend,
That
once
is
or every
so
other week.
that is so insane. I mean, if California were normal, people would be rioting in the streets about that. Now, if you were to riot about something, that's what you should be rioting about. And a state, an oil-producing state, no less.
Well, we just lost two manufacturers. We lost Chevron and we lost Valero.
Well, I should say,
So
what used to be an oil-producing state.
yeah, yeah. And then now we've got Newsom supposedly pulling back. At least he's saying that he's been trying to pull back on the billionaires tax. So California is I mean, they're trying to tax us every which way, but this billionaires tax, which is a one-time tax. I mean, that's how you know it's a penalty. It's like
Right.
one-time tax on billionaires.
Yeah.
California has 200 billionaires.
Mhm.
And just the announcement of this tax, even though it's now up for debate, even though supposedly Newsom is trying to pull back on it, if it passes, it'll be retro to January 1.
Mhm.
So you've got billionaires who are bailing. It's just in anticipation that, it's just going to pass at some point. I mean,
Oh, it's insane. Well, here's the thing. First of all, there ain't enough of them. Even though that sounds like a lot, there ain't enough of them. It never stops there. They if you want to get to the real money, you get to tax the middle class, which is exactly what they're going. They're already doing
well,
it,
they're
but
doing that already. Yeah. Yeah.
what they're going to do more of, they want to squeeze that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Because the billionaires can afford the gas. They can afford the elevated prices at, in the grocery stores. They can afford to eat out and pay more. All of that they don't care about. They
plus,
don't.
they can they can pay the lawyers to get out of paying taxes. Remember that
So
famous debate line between Hillary and Trump? One of the most
yeah.
hilarious lines
Yeah.
of all.
Yep. Yep. Of course I take advantage of that. And you do too. And you voted for it. So
Boom! Right? Boom.
oh, speaking
So,
of the Clintons,
mhm.
did you hear that they have been petitioned to appear or requested to appear to a House Oversight Committee on Epstein, and they have just released a statement that they will not be appearing.
Shocking.
So now they might be up for contempt or something. We'll see where that goes. But
Well,
yeah,
see, the beautiful thing about this, it reminds me of the biblical book of Esther, right? So Haman did that scam in order to get Mordecai and
yep,
Esther hung on the gibbet, and he winds up getting hung on the gibbet that he created. They created this. Presidents used to be off limits, but they did that to Trump, and now guess what? Now they're gonna have to hang on that gibbet that they created for him. It's just, hey, you know, you can't make it up.
no, no, they've been just sticking themselves in too far deep. Um, did you hear about um, in Minnesota or it swirling around the whole Minnesota corruption? They have tracked about $700 million in cash in suitcases that's been flown out of the United States. There's a story going on about that.
I missed that story, but nothing having to do with Minnesota surprises you anymore.
Yeah.
Um, Unreal.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's, I mean, so many whistleblowers coming out of the woodwork.
Mhm.
They've got state employees um, who are, turning whistleblower. They're going to the feds and they're talking about how they had gone to the governor and said, this looks like fraud. And he said, don't worry about it.
Mhm. Oh,
So,
yeah, yeah.
you
Well,
know,
and
he
he's
said
going
he
to win
didn't
it.
know.
Well, the thing about this, and this is such an interesting, this expand the lens out a little bit. So the left has been looking for the Kent State moment for the last, like, ever since Trump's been in office, right? And this woman who got
Good.
shot in
Yeah.
Minneapolis, right?
Becca
Um,
Good.
Yep, that's the Kent State moment they want to rally around. Now, anybody who's got even a smidgen of objectivity can see that she put herself in that position. Even if you want to say that maybe he shouldn't have shot her, and I'm not in that camp, by the way, but but you're interfering with an officer in their line of duty. If you do that, then you are opening yourself up to pretty much anything happening. Everybody knows that from the day you're born, that you don't do that. She did that, she lost her life. But none of that's relevant to the left because what they need to do is come up with some scandal of some kind that they can blanket the news with so they don't have to look at all of the good news and all the great accomplishments that Trump is having. That's what this is 100% about. But the other thing, too, the way that the left is behaving is just like they did at the eve of the Civil War.
Mm.
Essentially, you have the governor of that state who, let's just say his credibility is slightly underwater, shall we say? And he is calling for the National Guard for Minnesota to basically disregard, the laws of the federal government. This is
Mhm.
exactly what happened with South Carolina at the firing on Fort Sumter. That's how crazy the left is, and we've
Mm.
got about 7 or 8 states who it's going to be very interesting to see how the Trump administration deals with them. Oregon and Washington, of course, are among them. I think what Oregon, Washington, California, there's 3, Minnesota, that's 4, New Jersey, 5,
New
um,
York.
New York, 6. Those 6, oh, Illinois, and probably Colorado.
Yeah.
Um, those states, I'm not sure how that's going to go, I mean, do we, does he come in with the Insurrection Act and just take over this? I don't know if they take over the states, but any municipality that is that is declaring sanctuary status is essentially declaring that they are seceding from the union.
Mhm. Mhm.
Essentially,
Yeah.
what they're saying.
Yeah.
I think we
Yeah.
got to treat them like that.
Well, and what I think is very interesting is, okay, so you're going to implement policies that are in direct violation of federal law. You are going to also disrupt and be antagonistic and even encourage violence towards those who are coming in trying to enforce federal law. So to me, it's a very natural reaction to then cut off all the federal funding to sanctuary cities, because now what the feds are saying is, oh, you don't need us.
Yeah.
All
Oh,
right.
yeah. It's brilliant because it takes away what they want. What they want is a confrontation and violence in the street. What they
Right.
want is thousands of, what's that woman's name? Good.
Yeah,
Um,
Becca
they
Good.
want, they want thousands of that. That's what they
Yeah.
want, and
Mhm.
we can't give it to them because there's enough people who are wishy washy on the touchy feely thing. And hey, and it's true. We don't want to see people get killed. Even crazy people, we don't want to see them get killed. So it's a brilliant maneuver. Take away the money and put the squeeze on
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, absolutely. How I mean, maybe, a lot of these professional protesters are being paid by these external agencies, so maybe their income won't be hurt, but I think there's probably a lot of people that are just sort of like hanging around, or maybe I don't know. They're you cut you're going to force people to have to make a choice. You're going to have to force them to get involved, to be informed.
Well,
Where's my money? Oh, we're no longer receiving, our state's no longer receiving federal aid. Why? Oh, because the state's in violation of federal law. Wait, what? Wait, what?
yeah,
Then all of a sudden you're like, well, maybe my state's not so great. Well, where's my money? I want my money anyway.
that's
And then and
unfortunate.
then they'll start going towards their local politicians, to
Yeah,
governor.
unfortunately.
They'll start holding people accountable.
Mhm. Unfortunately, you're 100% right. People that don't think have to get hit in the face with a 2x4 before they'll recognize it. And this is going to be that 2x4. So when your medical clinic isn't open, when your lines get longer for medical care, when your public school has to close early, when all of those social services or whatever stop being there because your electors have been flouting federal law, then that's when this thing will start to change. It looks like we've lost Leslie, but she'll be back in a moment here, I'm sure, um, given our little technology glitch. But while we're waiting for her to come back, I thought it'd be really good to talk a little bit too about this move that Trump has made with regard to banning home purchases by institutional investors. I think this is yet another brilliant move, um, because what we want to do is increase affordability for the young, and that's something the left's been talking about a whole bunch, but not doing anything a lot about. And so now that he's made this move, they can't really say anything about it. Hey, Leslie, you're back. That's okay. I just switched over and was talking about Trump banning home purchases by institutional investors.
Yeah, yeah.
And and with affordability being the big new thing now, and the left are the one that brought up the affordability thing. So once again, he's taking an issue that they talked about. How can they get mad about this? Because you wanted it, and now he's delivering it, right?
Well, I think there's a lot of people that aren't even aware that this is going on. I
Hmm.
mean, if you're trying to buy a house, well, first of all, a lot of people can't even entertain the idea of buying a house, but for those who are, all they know is that they got that there's a competitive bid. They don't know, oh, it's that institutional investor.
Hmm.
They just don't even know, or they're buying up apartment buildings, and that's why rents are going up, and
Hmm.
they own all the apartment buildings in an entire area. Well, that's why all the rents are similarly overpriced,
Hmm.
whatever. So yeah, I think this is going to force people to become informed.
Yeah, and I watched a podcast on this because I'm not hyper informed on that one, but I watched a podcast and a lecture on that one a couple of nights ago. And it was really informative because that's not true everywhere. As a percentage of the national total, I think it's only like 2% or something of homes are owned by BlackRock and these institutional investors, but
Hmm.
they're concentrated in certain areas. So there's certain parts of the United States where it's like 25, 30%. And so if you live in one of those places, it is a huge deal.
Hmm.
And I can't remember the names of the cities right off the top of my head, but several mid-sized cities that you're shocked to learn that. And yeah, they're blocking access to the market for particularly young people trying to get into the market. I
Well,
mean,
sure.
yeah, I mean, if you look at, I'm not sure what the average household income is, I think it's around 70,000 now. And if you live in a market like, especially the West Coast, where the average price of well, I know in our area, probably for in the non-bullet zone, $500,000, 450, probably 450 is what you're talking about, right? Well, 70 goes into 400 grand, what, five, six, seven times? My math doesn't do me bad. Six times. That's six times earnings. And and for a person who's 25, 30, you know, that's like big bucks. And and that's not how it's supposed to be. That
No.
number ought to be like three times earnings. And so it's great to see that, although this is not it's one thing, it's not the thing, but it's one thing
Yeah.
to help that work out. I sort of think the thing is getting rid of all these people here who shouldn't be here. Simple supply and demand.
Yeah. No, I agree. But I also listened to a podcast, and they were talking about two other areas that are being gobbled up by private equity. One area is vet clinics, and another is dental clinics,
What was that first one?
veterinary clinics.
Veterinary. Okay. Okay. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So, I mean, I don't know the last time that you tried to take your animals into the vet,
It's
but it's very expensive, and
yeah.
they have all these rules about how you can't get this until you get this, and you can't,
Mhm.
like, it, you know, and as a vet, as a pet owner, I try to keep an emotional distance,
Mhm.
and some like level headedness around the care for what I will spend for the care for my animals.
Oh.
Not everybody's this way. Some people
Mhm.
will absolutely spend everything that they have in order to, you know, provide chemotherapy for their 15-year-old dog. Um,
And they know that.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. But they know that, and but what's ended up happening is, in response to these so in response to these gobbling up by the private equity, it has increased vet rates for absolutely everything. Has not
Oh.
increased care, hasn't bought new equipment for the
Mhm.
facilities. It has simply just increased vet rates, care prices, and so a lot of people are
Mhm.
actually not even going to the vet anymore for their
Mhm.
animals because they just simply can't. So how is that helping vet? How is that helping our animals? Dental, I mean, I can tell you I've experienced that, just going in. I mean, a root canal is $5,500, or
Mhm.
what do you call it? Like a cap,
Mhm.
um, crown, a crown. I had to get a
Mhm.
crown a couple years ago. Yeah, it was like $5,500 to get the little one, the Cerac or whatever, the one that they make right there in the office. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm like, what? Why do I have dental insurance if this is my out of pocket? Like, this makes no sense.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely understand. I know part of it, again, I'm not that educated on that part of the market, but I think a part of it is there are things that people will pay for because, well, let's face it, dental is part of appearance. And and you don't want to look, although people do walk around with an ugly grill, you don't want to walk around, you don't want to walk around with a British grill.
No.
And so people are willing to pay more for that, and they know it. And so they do that. And
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't I guess. I mean, it's, again, I feel like if you lower the prices and make it more accessible, I think people would do a lot more. People would be going in a lot more often. They would be probably doing more elective care if their regular care was more affordable. So
Mhm.
I don't know. It
Well, my,
seems,
my
but
suspicion, and I know the rest of the medical industry. Dental's a little different, but I'm sure this is true there too. There's no competition across straight state lines with insurance companies.
right,
So
right.
until there's competition across state lines, you can charge whatever you want. And I'm sure they've looked at that. And, hey, I'm getting what the market will bear. And
Yeah.
until we have competition, No one's crying about the cost of life insurance or auto insurance. Those things are inexpensive because it's free and open competition. But when it comes to things medical, the government's got their fingers in everything, and they completely wrecked the market. Then they'll turn around and blame the market for being wrecked when it was the government that wrecked it in the first place. That's one of the things that Milton Friedman used to talk about all the time. Government wrecks the market and then blames the market for being wrecked.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
And we have to put the solution finding
Mhm.
back into government's hands. I mean,
Right.
that's all they do is they break it, and then they force us to pay them to fix it, and then they
Yeah.
break it again, and then they force us to pay them to
Yeah.
fix it.
Which leads to bigger and bigger government, which of
Yeah.
course is the objective in the
Yeah.
first place.
Yeah. I mean, look at our job, look at our our trades.
Mhm.
All of a sudden with this like No Child Left Behind, all of a
Mhm.
sudden a college education was something that everybody needed, and people look
Mhm.
down on people in the trades. I mean,
Yeah.
it's you're just a blue collar worker, and
Yeah.
you're and now all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, we
Oh,
don't have those people anymore, and
yeah.
sinks are still getting clogged on Thanksgiving Day,
Mhm.
and toilets are still getting backed
Yeah.
up, and cars are still breaking down, and
Yeah.
elevators still aren't working, and I mean, like parking
Yeah.
garages still need to be built, right?
Hey.
Who's going to do that? And
Yeah.
so, so then it's like now, Department of Ed is like so innovative, or whoever these, I guess we don't have a DOE anymore, but these schools are so innovative because
Mhm.
they're making their kids future ready, because
Mhm.
they're getting into automation, robotics,
Mhm.
construction, electrical work. It's like that's all
Mhm.
the foundational work
Yeah.
that we've needed for years and years. I mean, even robotics and automation,
Mhm.
like every assembly line includes that. All
Well, a
so
country a country that can't make stuff will be a country that will eventually cease to exist.
well, and
You
that's and then but on the flip side, now all of a sudden, the cost of the wages for an engineer or a coder versus
Mhm.
the wages for an electrician. I mean,
Mhm.
who's laughing now?
Right.
You
Oh
know?
yeah. No. It's turning. We still that what the tariffs have done is magical. I mean, that all of that business is coming back to the United States. People are starting to get hired, and we're only beginning to feel the beginnings of those effects. I am so jazzed about that. And in the related note, because I'm a history junkie, so I just had to give you this quote. Remember that whole thing with I think it was Yamamoto, who was the admiral from for Japan, who was the architect of the attack on Pearl Harbor. But
Mhm.
basically, he didn't want to do it. And he basically said, the reason I don't want to do it, because he lived in the United States for like 10 years, went to Harvard, toured the whole country, said, you don't want to attack that country because the industrial base is like insane. Now, at the time, there was only our military was like the 11th biggest in the world. We were like the same size as Portugal in terms of military because we weren't focused on that stuff like Europe. But he predicted ahead of time, if you attack them and they turn that production into military stuff, it's over. And to give you a sense of just how quickly we did that, we had 4 aircraft carriers at the beginning of World War II rather. I think, well, actually 3, and they all have none of them happened to be at Pearl Harbor when they attacked, which was a disaster. Japan had 7. At the end of that war, we had 70, 70, 4 years later. So we can build. We are a nation of tinkerers. We're born a nation of builders and tinkerers. And the left hates that. They tried to gut that and farm it out to other countries and basically let those kids in the middle of the country just basically rot. That's what we've been doing for the last 20 years. I'm so glad to see we have a muscular president. And yeah, I said muscular. Come into office and like, hey, I'm laying down the wood because there's no soft and easy way to do it. Which makes me say, I have to say this because it's been top of mind for a long time. What do you think about the Greenland talk? I think the Greenland talk is brilliant.
Yeah.
Everybody's crying and whining and oh, he's mean. But people got to realize when it comes to international politics, like people like internet, also against international law. You know what? There's no such thing as international law. It's the law of the jungle when it comes to only sovereign nations have laws because laws ain't laws unless they're enforceable.
That's
And
right.
the
That's
biggest, baddest country in the world is the one that can have its way. Now that's the way it is. I didn't make those rules up. It's been that way since time immemorial. But if it's going to be a country that's going to do that, then I want it to be this one because this is a Christian nation. I'd rather have it be us than China or the Islamic Republic or the leftists in Brussels, because somebody's going to do that. Somebody's getting Greenland. I hate to break it to you, Denmark ain't keeping Greenland. I hate to break it to Denmark too. You ain't big enough. You don't have enough money. You don't have enough resources. Hell, we pay for your defense as it is. You ain't keeping Greenland. So either China's getting it, Russia's getting it, or we're getting it. I'd rather be us. How
Yeah.
hard is that? It's not
So,
hard.
so how do you think that's going to go down? I mean, do you think that? I mean, Trump has talked about, we can cut a deal, but even if we don't cut a deal, Russia and China won't want to cut a deal. They'll be coming in, so we're going to be the good guys. I mean, how does that go down?
Yeah,
Just
and
you write up a little like pink slip. Like, what do you do?
anybody who tells you they know how it's going to go down is lying. They don't know. Trump don't even know. It's a chess match, and it depends on who's going to make the next move. I mean, the residents, all 57,000 of them, are saying they want to be their own country. Well, I got bad news for you. You can't be your own country because you can't afford a defense.
Yeah.
You can't afford a defense. You ain't a country. All right. You are a protectorate, is what you are. So that's awfully nice. They want to give them a vote. That makes the leftists all feel happy. Oh, we voted, right? But somebody's getting you. Now it may be something like Hong Kong and the Panama Canal. You sign some kind of a deal. It could look like that. It could look like us just kicking the door down and like making a base and say, "What you gonna do about it?" It could be any of that.
I don't like that idea.
A whole bunch of stuff in between.
Yeah, I don't want any I'm just going to say bullying tactics. I don't want any aggressive, provocative tactics to be employed here, because that, again, whatever we do, we have to be ready for that to be used by some evildoer numbskull, in the future. So if that's going to be our policy, then we're going to have to live with it when we don't like it. So I would really like, and I think, and I really don't, I don't think that other Trump supporters want that kind of thing either. I think they want Trump to make a deal.
So those are political considerations, which I completely get. I'm not disagreeing with any of that. It's kind of similar to the whole thing with Minnesota. What I'd love to see is just kick the door down and just militarize Minnesota and be done with it. Now, you and I both know that politically, the ramifications of that, aren't good. So you got to find a back doorway to do that. In this case, we just take your money from you.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the move there. What the move is here, I don't know. But I do know this. Denmark and Greenlanders ain't calling the shots. I know that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah.
We can put a nice, soft, smiley face on it and make people feel good about it, but we'd be lying.
I mean, it's like, no, I think it would be wonderful if he could do something, like some sort of like hands off, like you said, like Puerto Rico, kind of like treat them like that. Look, we got you. We're going to protect you, but you're serving a purpose for us. I don't actually know what purpose Puerto Rico serves, but I'm sure it's I'm sure you know what it is, Don, but I don't. But yeah, dealing with, I would hope that dealing with American culture, government would be far more appealing to the Greenlandiers than Russian or Chinese.
See, the sales pitch to them is this: you want to work for China? You want to be a part of that? Or you want to be part of the Soviet Union, Russia? You want to have to deal with the United States. This is pretty easy, plus when you consider the fact that they are fortunate enough to be in a land that is one of the most strategically located places on Earth. Who would have known? It's just like Alaska when Seward purchased the ice, the famous, the Seward's purchase, Seward's folly, as they used to call it in the old history books. He had no idea they were going to find a ton of gold there 10 years later. And then we're going to have this oil galore there. He had no idea. And then the strategic importance of it with the invention of the airplane. And so Greenland is strategically located in the very same way. And so they stand to benefit through no effort of their own. They think about the checks that get cut to Alaskans, they get just for living.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that could happen for Greenland, like monster checks. And number one. And number two, somebody who will defend you, which
Right.
is essentially what we do for Canada. We defend
Yeah.
all of that. Canada
Yeah.
doesn't have a military anymore. It's sad to say, but in World War I and World War II, Canadian Army was like one of the fiercest around.
Yep. Yep.
Now, man, they're much like latte sippers,
Yep.
living on our dime.
Yep.
But if you're gonna live on our dime, then we need to get something for it. And I think that's one of the things I love about what Trump is saying. Is okay, Europe, you know, NATO, I think, is on its way out as we know it. But you got to pay for defense.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. I'm just gonna go down my list here to see what we're missing out on here.
Oh, I had one quickie that did you catch that on Trump and the credit card companies?
Mm-mm.
That's pretty cool. So I just put that in the chat. So he's urging credit card companies to slash interest rates down to 10% for 1 year. So think about the usurious charges. This has been something that's flown under the radar for a long time. Think about people who are stuck in the credit card thing. Hey, we can all beat them up for getting there in the first place. Got it. People make mistakes in life. They do crazy stuff, but they're paying 20%. Is it 20%? 30%. I think the top end is like 30%. You're never getting out of that debt unless you hit the jackpot or something.
Yeah.
So, but it's illegal to charge usurious interest rates for pretty much anything else except these credit cards. Why do they get to do that? I think there should be a cap on it.
Yeah.
And if that cap is 10%, people would argue, well, they have a right to, you can go to Nick's, check cashing down the street and get you a 50% loan, or you can go to Guido, and for the small price of breaking your kneecaps if you don't pay up, and a 70% interest rate, you can do that, right? But at least this makes it harder, for them to get in that. And if you know that you're only going to get 10%, suddenly you're going to be more interested in the capability of the borrower to pay it back,
Right.
which is what the whole loan thing is supposed to be based on in the first place.
Right. I even think 10% is too high. I mean,
Yeah.
what are like basic interest rates, in a savings account? I mean, I think my high interest savings account, what is it, like 5%? I don't even know. I mean,
5% would be really good right now.
mhm.
I think it's like 1% or something. Savings account
No,
1%.
no,
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 I'm
no.
not. It's really bad. Well, I shouldn't say bad. It's just the way it is right now. Like the interest rates, like home mortgages now, just dropped to around right at 6%. I think
Yeah.
it is somewhere in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But your interest rate in the savings account, man, it is like next to nothing now.
Yeah.
1% maybe.
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
maybe you tie credit card rates to, savings account rates. Maybe you go up 1.5%, something like that, so that people,
Mhm.
I don't know. I mean, people would get like, okay, you know what, if I just wait a little bit, if I wait, 2, 3,
Mhm.
4 months, whatever you're trying to buy, if I just
Mhm.
wait a little bit, put it in a savings account,
Mhm.
you know,
But
that's
yeah.
like you can weigh that against,
Mhm.
or I'm going to pay, 2 points up,
Mhm.
to buy it right now, but I
Mhm.
could just wait a couple months and
Sure.
pay for
You know,
Christmas without going into debt.
yeah. Well, the cool thing about these kinds of proposals, like that one, the homes affordability one we talked about a moment ago, uh, the downward pressure on car prices, the downward pressure on inflation, the tariff rebate that he's going to probably propose here pretty soon. All of this is leading up to an election. You think about what will turn voters on. This is like literally money in your pocket. I'm literally cutting you a check in some of these cases, right? So there can be no what the Trump didn't do, and then we can fake it with statistics and all of that.
Yeah.
No, I got an extra $5,000 this year,
Yeah.
right? Because of this guy, like hard cash. I'm not even talking about gas prices dropping or any of that stuff. This is
Right.
like, cold hard cash.
Do you think
Um,
we are going to get a rebate?
I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen.
I think it'd be very smart.
Mhm.
That giving him the time to clean up all these, um, the Social Security,
Mhm.
um, databases, and just figure out exactly who's real and who's not. I don't want to hear about them writing checks to fake people or
No,
illegals.
I,
But if they can, if I mean, I will forego the money to me if I know that you're going to save
mhm.
bunches of money by not paying it to people who don't deserve it, or put fake bank accounts.
Yeah.
Um,
And
yeah,
that's people like you and me. But remember, most of the voters we're trying to get aren't people like you and me. The people we're trying to get are people who aren't like you and me. So that portion of the population is kind of wavering. The portion of the population that doesn't think, they left the Democratic Party the last time around because I got hit in the head by a 2x4, but I'm still not sure why I'm here. and then all of a sudden, I get a check in the mail on top
Yeah.
of my streets are clean. I'm not getting robbed in the streets every day. My daughter's not getting chopped up at school. No, my son can buy his first house. The insurance rates went down. You start going through the list. It's like, there's not illegals like running all over the neighborhood, living in free hotels on my dime. There's less traffic because we don't have like 15 million people here who shouldn't be here. You just start going down the list, and it's like, I think I'll vote that way.
Yeah.
Because that stuff you can feel and see. Me and you will vote uh, for uh, uh, for thinking reasons. We know if you do these things, this will happen. But a huge percentage of the population votes for they can see right here. Right,
Yeah.
this
I
is
was going to
what
say,
I
it's like, it's the microwave
want.
mentality. I want to know. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I got to have it now. And, because I'd love to say, just put it into paying down the national debt. But if you do that, these people they don't understand that connection. So, yeah, you do want to pay down the national debt, but you got to keep them in the game. And how you keep them in the game is with a big old
Right.
fat check.
Right. Well, and do we really believe that, our government's going to do the right thing with our money? No, give it to me. I got it. I will put it. I will take care and make sure that the bills are paid and, things are taken care of,
Right.
But
Exactly.
yeah. Anyway, there was something about a Venezuela leaker that I was hearing a little bit. What I missed what happened.
I
What's that
missed
about?
that one too. I mean, I
Okay.
walked in the door, my wife mentioned it, and I just haven't had a chance to look.
Okay.
But that Venezuela thing, that is a fascinating one too.
Yeah. Did you so quickly back to that Becca Good? They are doing a criminal investigation
Mhm.
on sorry, Renee Good is the name of the person who was
Right.
killed. Becca Good
Mhm.
is her wife, although apparently they're
Mhm.
not legally married.
Mhm.
But they're investigating her the and her ties to, like, anti-ICE groups.
Mhm.
She's, was known to be, like a strategic, agitator. But the ICE agent apparently is he's a veteran,
Mhm.
and he's still in the hospital. He has internal bleeding, and they've got GoFundMe and maybe another account. They've raised almost $1 million.
So, excuse me. So, did he actually get hit by that car that time? I know he's been hit before. I know that he's been
Yeah,
run
he
over
was.
by people before.
Yeah, no, this was.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was the hit that happened because of her.
Hmm.
And so again, all the uh, people looking at the video, oh, he wasn't really hit. He was just, well, he has internal bleeding.
Hmm.
So yeah, he was hit. Yeah, he was. He's a victim.
And even if he wasn't, again, I go back to the common sense thing. You are interfering with a law enforcement officer in the course of their duty. You drive a 3,000-pound vehicle at them. Once you do that, anything can
Yeah,
happen.
yeah, yeah,
Anything can happen. It's
yeah,
just you can't do that. Imagine the signal to other criminals and people if they know they can do that and nothing happens.
yeah.
Well, there's this
Well, I
precision.
mean,
Go ahead.
that's exactly what's been going on this whole time,
Mhm.
right? I mean, that's why she did it,
Right.
because
No,
she got that signal.
that's 100% right, and that's why this law needs to be enforced. It's kind of similar to the kid who wrestled a guy down the New York subway, put him
Hmm.
in chokehold to keep him from slicing up some people,
Yeah,
and then they wanted to put him on trial because this guy died. That
yeah,
case went the right way, but had it not gone the right way, what incentive would be for anyone to step in and be a good Samaritan and save somebody on the subway? There'd be like none.
I know,
You would look at that and
know,
say, "Well, I got to make this calculus in my head.
I
Do I want to
know.
spend the next 5 years of my life dealing with the legal system, or do I want to save this woman's life?" Right? And
Well,
that's the
I mean,
stuff that people do.
yeah, and I mean, like, the American spirit is defender of the underdog,
Mhm.
and coming to the aid of the damsel in distress, and taking care of people. I mean,
Mhm.
that's who we are. We build, we care,
Mhm.
we're triumphant. We
Mhm.
sacrifice. That goes to the heart of who we are. And all of a sudden, if we can no longer do that because we don't trust that our government is going to defend us, I mean, I just I don't know. I mean,
See, the
I
left wants to crush that spirit. That's the
Yeah.
thing they have to crush. That's what communists everywhere want to crush is your ability to be independent, your ability to be free, your ability to own property. They want you to be slaves. And the only difference between the Democratic Party in the 1860s and the Democratic Party now is they want to do it without whips.
Yeah.
They'll go to whips if they need to, right? But they'd rather do it without whips.
Only because it looks bad,
Yeah,
not
only
because they don't want to.
No, right. That's exactly right. And so you just have to be cognizant of that at all times. When you see somebody out there screaming and yelling at a camera and trying to get in the way of ICE, of someone from ICE who's enforcing the law, right? And all to be a sovereign country, you have to have laws about who can be here and who can't be here. Otherwise, you are not a sovereign country. And to be against that is really demonstrates a level of unreason that you can't deal with. There's no talking to someone. It's the same people who look at you in the eye and say a man is a woman is a man. Like the Supreme Court justice who couldn't answer the question, what is a woman? A sitting Supreme Court justice, or who's about to be a sitting. She's a sitting one now. And that's another one. There's a trial on that right now, too. That looks like it's going to have some interesting implications. I think Alioto was one of the guys asking questions. I can't remember what that case was. Well, it has to do with women, transgender, so women's sports issue. And he asked a basic question, and it was word salad galore. Have you seen that yet? It's floating around on the internet. And the case is, she asked her basically that question, what's a woman? And she gave him a bunch of word salad. So basically, it came back like, you can't define what a woman is, and what are we here talking about in the first place?
So and how do these people like? Sorry.
No, go ahead. You fish.
I'm just thinking, like, how do you elevate in society and in your career, and you're this dumb or brainwashed or just so open to persuasion? You don't have anything foundational that you're holding on to. How are you successful? Like that successful, Supreme Court justice, like it's a big deal.
Well, and that goes back to, we've talked about this before, the German economist, I can't remember his name, who wrote that book. And in the book, he makes the premise, it's a fascinating premise. And he has a chapter in the book entitled, Why Do the Worst Rise to the Top?
Yeah.
And the short version of the answer was because they're willing to do things that a moral person won't do.
Yeah.
That is precisely correct.
But not true in all cases, right? We know that, but
it's mostly true. I mean, you look at the corporate ladder, you look at the politics, who gets to those places? They're willing to do stuff that a moral person won't do. Like you look at Kamala Harris, there's no way she passed the bar. Are you kidding me? I don't believe it. California bar used to be one of the toughest bars. I think it still is in the United States. I can't believe she passed the bar. I just can't.
Maybe she didn't.
Maybe she didn't. Or you look at someone like a Maxine Waters. Like, how do these people get to these positions? It ain't by smarts, not at least smarts in the way that we're thinking about smarts,
or that we're held to.
Right? Yeah. They are. Their job is not to do a great job. Their job is to get the next job. Those are two different things. And politicians like that anyway. Their job is not to make your life better. Their job is to stay in office. Now, if it happens to align that they make your life better, then that's great. But if it doesn't, that's fine with them too.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there's exceptions to the rule.
Yeah.
But the reason our brilliant founders wrote this Constitution the way that they did, because they were hyper aware of that.
Yeah.
And the objective was to keep government very small, because generally speaking, government does damaging things. So if they're small, they can only damage us small. That's why we have 50 states. So you can do Minnesota and destroy that. But there's 49 other states you can look at Minnesota and say, I ain't doing that. Or they can look at California and say, I'm good. Or Oregon or Washington, right? They can go there, we kind of like low crime, like Florida, cool. Indiana, that'll work for me. Texas, it looks good to me. That's the beauty of the system.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
all right,
We have eaten up an hour again. It is always a pleasure. Do you have any final words here, Leslie, before we call it good?
No, I always leave these discussions with you feeling like I need to dig in more. I mean, you always make my brain just
Well,
crank
trust
on
me.
all cylinders, and I always hang up thinking, oh gosh, I should do more research into this and that. So
Well, the
thank you.
feeling's
I appreciate
mutual.
our talks.
Oh, yeah, the feeling's definitely mutual. I mean, I came into this, I'm just dragging. My throat's killing me. But you jumping on here, the audience here, I just got energized all of a sudden.
Good.
5 minutes after we got off the phone, I'm passing out on the couch still.
That's right. That's right.
I got my NyQuil, my whiskey, I'm good.
Oh my God.
All
Oh.
right, you guys. Thank you all. It's great seeing you all. Have a great week. And until we meet again.
All right. Bye, everyone.